Ladies and ladies and ladies and ladies and gentlemen, and primarily the ladies! Woo! That's right. It's time for Day 9 Daily Part 3 for Day 9 Daily number 370, where we learn to be a better gamer. We saw some really good stuff out of Aria in Part 1, some pretty damn good stuff for most of Part 2, and now we're seeing a little bit of a collapse from Aria. We're going to see a little bit of too loud volume from Day 9. So, I think this decision, a lot of people read too much into in the forums. They were saying, oh my god, he's doing every possible type of composition ever. The big thing that I want to emphasize that this Ultraless Cavern was like, so by the way, we're at the 30-minute mark right now, this Ultraless Cavern reminded me quite a bit of this moment in play, where you'll note that we don't actually have any corruptors yet. This is the 21-minute mark. We were rewound 9 minutes. At that point in time, Aria kind of had the Broodlords able to be built, but then didn't really build them. And then what we ended up seeing maybe 4 minutes later was he went, oh, I guess I better start investing in some Broodlords. And then, you know, oh, I guess, all right, cool, let's do that. And now once his army's done, he's going, oh, well, let me get the Ultraless Cavern up. This is one of these classic, like, gold level mistakes, actually, which is not having all the appropriate tech ready for when you want to build it. All Zerg strategy, and actually most of strategy of any race, kind of has you getting upgrades before you actually get too many of the units. Like, you get Zergling speed when you have no Zerglings. You start getting Zergling speed when you have no Zerglings, so that way 3 minutes from now, when you need Zerglings, they're going to have speed. You get this Ultraless Cavern way earlier, so that way, when you do that attack, all you got to do is hold this 7, U, and then you can easily just rock out a bunch of Ultralisks. We've seen this consistent issue with Aria again and again and again. Ridiculously good spotting on the minimap. Never missed a Warp Prism once this entire game. Always on the ball, always on the money. But I still don't feel that remarkably happy about it. Look at these upgrades, are just so crisp. Should have gotten this second evolution chamber up, but yeah, you know, I'm not feeling so great about it. These moves, again, I kind of am feeling quite positive towards moves like this, where basically we're trying to hit him with any vulnerability we have with a fast force. This is true for Mutiling early on. This is true for small numbers of roaches early on. Even these large number of roaches later on, we realize, oh yeah, we're not in a good position. We're going to pull back. And hell, look at Aria. This is the position Aria should have been in about 3 minutes ago. Protoss loses a lot, Zerg loses a lot, but Zerg immediately replenishes with 8 Ultralisks. Yay! Yay! First warp-in that it seems like our Zerg buddy has missed all game long, and he was more than pre-prepared for it. Like a ridiculous boss. Now, Huck has basically all game long been getting the Blinkstalker Immortal Archon mixture, which I think should be considered the late game core composition. Getting Storm up there as well. Once you get real high on the food, you can get some Colossi in there, but I don't dislike this play to get the Mothership. Ultra Drop seems a little bit over the top. And now, again, we finally see another play where I'm just like, ooh, yeah. Big damn army moving through mid, little drop army moving to try to take out this expansion. That is, like, really good. This attack should still be going for the main or for this third base. Trying to peel this army apart, because right now the decision for Huck is pretty easy. You can pull back here and take this off. And now this is suddenly a rough spot for Huck. If this had happened earlier on, this expansion being under fire, or the main being under fire, and then this drop came, that would have been awesome. But Aria pulls it back. He's going to go ahead and he really should be continuing to try to put some pressure on. And you're still seeing that classic Zerg mistake that is like totally gold level. When you have 6k, 5k, you should really have all your hatches rallied into the main lines. You really should. I really recommend it. At the end of the battle seems to be when Aria decides what he wants to be building. It turns out Brood Lords seem pretty cool. Let's make 26 of those. That seems great. Huck's going to kind of hold down like a boss. This doesn't actually look very good. And what I want to point out is that there's nothing too fancy going on in terms of the conspiracy theory front. There's really nothing too crazy going on. A lot of people go, well, oh my god, and then he went Ultralisk and Banelings, and then he went this and that, and then he went this and that. It seemed like he didn't want to kill off Huck. I can just tell you, if you look at every battle, Aria replenishes his units after the battle is done. That's why there's these huge, long, jagged pits of boringness. Good, he's burrowing Ultras. Cool, very cool. But this still is quite exciting to me from just like a general game perspective. I do think that at this point in time, the correct play in my eyes for Zerg at this point in time would actually be to extend the creep forward, try to build a lot of spine crawlers, probably on this half, but at the very least to start working up, and just to try to make sure that Zerg can grab this gold. I would probably completely halt putting pressure on these bases, and just try to both deny Protoss from getting the gold, and try for me to get the gold. And this is obviously working out great. Everything's like 3-3-3 out the wazoo. There's a mothership, which will not be in StarCraft 2 for long. This was a terrible decision. For any of you who don't know about the Archon Toilet, you get a lot of units into the Vortex, particularly Archons, and then at this point in time... By the way, when Broodlings die, they pop out of the Vortex. Isn't that interesting? What the hell happened with Aria? This is the one thing that just wounds my soul. Alright, here it comes. Oh, there's everything popping out. You'll notice there are 5 Archons in the units lost tab. Let's just keep track of this number. Fun. Let's keep track of... Is this it? Where's the army size tab? There it is. There's the army supply tab. Keep track of these 2 little tabs for me. Here we go. This is going to be fun. Here we go. Get ready. Oh my god! Oh god! Oh god, Zerg! Oh! Oh! Didn't that just feel good? That feel good for you too? I mean, that was actually the clear turning point in the game in my eyes. Very clear turning point. Still, like, I think this moment that, by the way, I just need to see again. That I just really need to see again. This moment that was just like so unbelievably kick-ass and badass in every single way. The clear turning point, but Aria, I think I would not label this as, oh, Aria, you lost at that moment. If only you had split your units better. There's about 9 times beforehand where Aria should have closed the game but didn't close it. He should have been able to close the game, but he didn't close it. See, and look at this. Remember what we were saying beforehand? After battles is when Aria seems to rebuild an army. Momentum being lost rapidly by him. I mean, Zerg is not actually down and out and done with the game in any way. I mean, obviously with this amount of Zerglings we can manage to hold down, but he's lost momentum. Suddenly Protoss has a reasonable shot at taking this base up. And that's exactly what we end up seeing. So, I'm not actually going to end up finishing this game with a ton of analysis. I want to come to the very end. And then we're going to do a brief recap of the game of all the important things that happened. He tries to come in here. He gets Archon toileted. And that ends up losing him the game. And Huck is again a resounding badass. So I want to review what I think were kind of the key moments of the game. As quickly as we can, and then we'll hop into some questions. The key moments were early. I thought that Aria was doing an amazing job of having really crisp injects, getting the speed up quickly, and with all of the perfection of gameplay that we saw, he was able to get this hatch up, and then very cleverly slip in a spire right here. Bam. Rather unusually, just a little bit of time later, I would say at the 12-minute mark, it may have been a touch earlier. Nope, perfect timing. Ihan timing. Nope, not perfect timing at all. I hate the fact that I have to choose 9 minutes or 12 minutes in the replays. No big deal. Anyways, So, again, he slips in this Spire, and this is the point in time where most Zerg players would be building drones, but Aria does something that not a lot of Zerg players do. He continues to build a reasonable amount of roaches, and then he's just going to start going for attacks very early on. And while he's going for the attacks, that's when he's building drones. Very unusual to do. Bringing these attacks in, and ordinarily this would be a terrible, devastating moment for a Zerg player. Devastating moment, because you'd think, oh god, I lost all my roaches. Now I'm going to have to be on the defense again. Well, not if you have this variety of tech coming forward. And again, boldly expanding again, because these Mutalisks are going to go right on the offensive again. And this was really exciting to me. And as we watch the minimap, we see attacks getting prepared by Aria. We see this great unit control where he manages to pick off an extra Stalker and still doesn't take any damage. Really, really, really good stuff. Spreading stuff through the minimap. We see an Infestation Pit get planted here very, very soon. Boom! Infestation Pit. We're at 14 minutes. We're almost at 4 bases, and we're on our way to get a hive. The only reason this attack didn't happen is because our Zerg player was so good he spotted on the minimap. As I cut forward to the 18-minute mark, we see ridiculous, crazy aggression by Zerg. Huck is pinned back on 3 bases. Zerg literally has everything he could ever imagine. He has drop and speed. He's getting the Baneling Nest. And this is where the collapse happens. This is where I get disappointed. This is where I feel all Jefferson. Ugh. We see no smart transitioning with the use of the Hive tech. We see no pre-preparation to get any Broodlords out. In other words, we don't see any Corruptors come down. These upgrades are late. I mean, that's pretty easy to state. But, I mean, again, we don't have a next step ready to rock and roll. Suddenly, all our brilliant tactical maneuvering is given up in favor of just rallying huge numbers of units. But as we're seeing, as a consistent theme, when Aria gets low on supply, he waits till all his units are dead, and then he's going to begin rebuilding. Here he is, focusing on the battle, and now that they're all dead, oh damn, I better make myself some more units. That seems like a wise decision. Even a few minutes later, at the 30-minute mark, we see the same theme again. Realizing, damn, I lost all my units. Maybe Ultralisk will be good now. I want to kind of preempt that a bit. So if I were saying, play more like Aria, we can see that having things like incredible... Whew, I thought it almost crashed, but it didn't. Haha. Having things like incredible mechanics can get us a little bit of extra money. Having things like really good attack positioning and really just well-timed aggression can get us into opportunistic situations we would not ordinarily have, but it's important to actually exploit that with that sort of clear knowledge of the usual sets of transitions. So what I would say... My god, my internet browser is lagging like crazy. Refresh. Markio, your question grabber is not working. Stop. Stop the question grabber. Clear the question grabber. Refresh the question grabber. Come on, internet. Come on, sweetie. I want to take questions. Whatever, I'll just take them from the live chat. Yeah, yeah. So here, let me just cut and paste a huge number of questions. Yeah, you know what? We're going to open it up in Notepad. Notepad. Bam. There we go. Time out, Bane Litios says, Dear Day 9, do you think that teching a lot is essential for Zergs, as this gives them tools to counter effectively, or is it better just focus more on one set of tech? Let's see here. Let us divine. What do I think about that? I actually feel like that question can't really have a good answer. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the way that teching should work in general. So, in terms of variety of tech, like having Mutalisks, and Roaches, and Drops, something like this. In general, when you have a big variety of tech, that's a big amount of stuff that your opponent kind of has to be worrying about, so it'll kind of make him have to do this. With Zerg specifically. You'll kind of feel the player having to do this sort of thing. So what it means is that even though your opponent is on the defense, your army is also overall weaker. If you stay with one focused set of tech and just devote upgrades to that, Your opponent might not have to defend as much, but your main attack force is going to be way stronger. Much, 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 much stronger. So that's why we see players like Stefano, who just go straight Roach, Hydra, Corruptor, and just rally and go all the way. They don't have a very splayed out tech path. They just have this clean and narrow like this. What this excited me most about was not only did we see the variety of tech, but we saw the pace at which he was getting the Hive, the pace at which he was getting the Mutalisks. That really helped Aria do some amazing, amazing stuff. And the important thing is that with the early aggression that he was doing, with the Mutalisks over here and the Roaches here and the Speedlings there, it was forcing Huck back, and the way that he exploited that was by taking expansions and getting bigger and badder-ass tech up. Things like Infestors and Broodlords, I think, are a great finishing moment after you've done all this sort of crazy, nutty aggression. Because in other words, you're staying back as Protoss, you're defending, you're defending, you're defending, you're defending. All right, I'm ready to attack. Oh my god, you have Broodlords and Infestors up. That's kind of the desired effect. Let's go ahead and grab some more questions. Markio, is your question grabber working? For any of you who don't know, Markio programs tools for me to interface with the chat a little bit more easy, but it didn't end up working. No, not today. All right, let's take another block of questions and paste them into Notepad. Yeah. From Banda Scrub says, Dear Day 9, what is Protoss's best response to the Worker Baneling drop Mutalisk harass splits that you recommend to Zerg? You kind of heard that what I said was Protoss is going to kind of have to be like this. The important thing is to not be uncomfortable with being like this as Protoss. Huck, I think, is one of the best Protosses at being like, yeah, I'm just going to defend and be all over the place with Blink Stalkers. And have all the rest of my units positioned defensively. One of the big things that Huck does that I will straight up say I saw first from him, I see him do it most consistently and do it best. He keeps his slow units in one place and his fast units in the other. So you'll see him have Zealot, Sentry, Immortal sit and chill by the front. And if there's Mutalisks in his main, he'll bring back only his Blink Stalkers. So what this allows him to do is deal with attacks at multiple angles in a smart way. It's very easy to be like, Mutalisks in my main, 1A, go. And things like your Zealots are walking back to the back of your base. That's not very helpful. Obviously, building cannons, don't be afraid to do that if you see your opponent really going nuts. Try to steer clear from it. And I think the most important tool that Protosses are finally starting to use a lot is that you have to put some pressure back on the other player. Dark Templar and Warp Prisms are the big ones. DTs and Warp Prisms. So again, while you're doing this, try to be doing DT harass and Warp Prism harass, so that way you can just throw little darts at him while you're defending. And then what you want to do is you kind of want to stabilize and then gather up and boom, shove forward in one huge push. Hilariously, what we saw in this game is that Huck was so like this that literally one attack forward was all he had to do all game long to really seal the nail in the coffin. Here's a great question from Bankay Sin. Day 9, at what point is it logical to move away from Roachling mixes? And when is it smart to move into late game tech? So, excuse me, I'll just be pouring water on myself. So the important thing is that Roachling mixes are terrible in big engagements, like horrific. You should not be getting them if you're intending to get big engagements. You should view Roachling as one of two things. One, a force purely created on the fly to defend against a big attack. And the other one is a force that you are going to use to really do a lot of harassment and attacking and messing with him. So for that second one, I would describe Roachling as a stepping point. If you are going a lot of Roaches and a lot of Lings, you should be doing something else tech-wise. You should be getting a Spire up and getting ready to get Mutals. You should be getting a Hive up and getting ready to do something else. You should be getting Infestors up to help bolster this force and make it comfortable in a direct engagement. The biggest mistake you can do is to be building a lot of that and then kind of think, well, maybe I'll just try to do a direct frontal attack again. You know, maybe I'll just build this force up and get good upgrades for it. You really want to do some sort of huge, tremendous step, and the one big step that we saw in this game was getting the hive up really fast in a delightful fashion. I thought that was amazing. Getting the expansions up is another great thing you can do. Great. Let's see here. I'll take one more. Let's see. I don't like any of these questions. I'm going to go ahead and try to grab one more from the chat. By the way, for any of you who don't know, Markio's question grabber is actually the most badass script ever, and cutting and pasting from the chat is not so good. Here, I will take this final question. Yes. From, oh, I realize I was reading everyone's name wrong. Every single name apparently starts with timeout ban when I copy-paste from the chat and put it in Notepad, because those are the 2 buttons next to every name. So this is Lord Sir Rush. Day 9, what is the proper ratio of drones to units? I find myself over-making drones on 4 bases and then not able to defend even if I see it coming. I never want anyone to confuse a rule of thumb with truth. You heard me say, yeah, like 70, 75 drones, that's like a reasonable amount. That's like a rule of thumb to work with, but don't view that as truth. And in fact, in terms of the ratio of drones to units, I literally don't want you to even consider thinking of things in terms of a ratio. I want you to think of an end goal, like let's take 75 drones. 75 drones is about reasonable. Anything more, I would probably say, is hard to do. Once you get to Grandmaster or Master, then I would say start feeling comfortable playing with that. But I think it's reasonable for someone Master and Low to be like, 75 drones is what you want to go for. What about in between there? I want you to think of periods where you're making units and then doing something with them versus making drones. Making units and doing something with them versus making drones. So for instance, starting off the game, drone. Make a couple units. Like, make 12 Zerglings, start to harass with them. Drone. Boom, I'm at 75 drones. This is a reasonable way to play what I just described. You kind of keep an eye on them with 12 Zerglings, but yeah, now you're at 1B at 75 drones. What we saw in this game is drones, some lings, drones, a lot of roaches, a lot of mutalisks, drones. Units, drones. It was this weird spike up of units. July also does this quite a bit. So the most important thing of all is whenever you're making units, you start to do things with them. Don't just go, oh my god, he could be 4-gating me, let me make 18 roaches. Whether he 4-gates you or not, do something with those roaches. Any unit that's there and sitting around doing nothing is a very bad unit to be around. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to turn the stream off for 5 minutes. Because I'm going to be playing Amnesia Dark Descent, and I just have to get myself in my game face. I have to refresh the stream, so for all 15,000 of you watching right now, please stay. Please don't go anywhere. And per usual, what I love to always say, whatever you tweet about me playing Amnesia, you have a chance of being retweeted. But be clever, and include a stream link. Because otherwise no one will know what the hell you're talking about. So that's going to wrap up the daily. Just want to do the usual string of announcements. On Sunday will be US subscriber free-for-all battles, where there will be plenty of backstabbing encouraged and me casting and laughing hilariously for about 2 hours. That'll be at 7 p.m. Pacific. And then on Monday, Fun Day Monday, is going to be you, Stream Chat viewers, versus the Stream Chat mods of Day 9 TV. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It makes me want to